Well, good morning, everybody. This is dear Mama Sal, and the word today is windy. We've got some really strong winds gusting here in southern British Columbia, where it's a very pleasant 13 degrees. The cloud covers come right over and sealed in the heat, and that would make it the equivalent of 55 in the States. So you can imagine we've gone from freezing temperatures and snow back up to 13 degrees, which is why nobody gets surprised when you get colds and flus, because how on earth is the body meant to cope with those sort of changes, right? But luckily it does. So the good news is that it's a really windy day, but I have very strong hairspray, and I have used it because there is not a huge walk between my car where I park it and my work, but enough that I could do some serious damage to a hairstyle. So that has to last all day. And I don't know if any of you have the same problem, but I have a double crown, which basically means that unless I work really hard at the back of my head, I will have, this hole in the back of my head. That sounds terrible. In the hair area, I look like a monk because my hair grows out from the center of the back of my head. That doesn't sound like a good description at all. I wonder if any of you know what I'm talking about. So basically what you have to do is do your hair in the morning, make sure that that area is really well covered, and then hairspray. But if you get winds like this, the chances of it coming apart are pretty good. So we will pray that I don't spend all day with looking like a monk at the back of my head, because there's not much I can do about it at work. I had a really good evening. Let me try and think here. We had... I managed to find the skirt to my tree. I was really upset because I couldn't find the skirt to my Christmas tree. And also, I couldn't find the garlands that I normally put down the staircase. So that had me a little concerned because, and the mantelpiece. So I'm going, they're really important parts of the decorations, therefore they would normally be in what I call primary boxes, well marked. Why weren't they? And we opened up all the major boxes and we still didn't find them. So and the reason was, when I went into the storeroom to get the garland for the front door, I had put all the wreath, for the front door, I had put all the garland stuff into a clear garbage bag. A leaf bag, I think we call it. A clear bag. And stored it away nice and neatly in the storeroom behind some curtains so you couldn't see what was stored on those shelves. And that's why I couldn't find it. So now tonight I can do that part of the decorations, and then at least it's beginning to look a whole lot more like Christmas. Now you understand, the Grinch inside me is saying, by the time you get this finished, it'll be time to take it down again, which is not the spirit of Christmas. So we're going to blow a big wind on that one and blow away that thought and enjoy the decorations while we can. The really nice thing was I got a great telephone call from Benji last night, which I was very grateful for. We got a chance to really catch up on a lot of stuff, which was awesome. So a big thank you to him. I find that every now and then I sort of, how would I word this? I miss the boys. That's how I put it. And it's really strange because it's almost like they all went in about their own lives at the same time. and I was sort of left hanging. And I'm not used to that because they're always so good to me and always so good about, you know, keeping in touch and keeping me informed that it was really weird. It was like, did I lose them? And so I actually was strong enough this week to say to each of them in my own, in different ways, don't run with this, but do you know I'm still here? And if so, could you show it? Don't tell me, show me. And you know, that was the discussion that we were talking about in the broadcast at the weekend. You know, too many people tell you they love you, or miss you or whatever, and too few show you. So it was a really cute time, and I'm very grateful that I got to verbalize it. Sometimes we just do need to talk about our needs, you know, that we can be very, very considerate of others, but you know, somewhere in there you have needs too. And I think that it's important to recognize those. Now, one of the topics that came up over dinner on Sunday that I wanted to talk about because it was really important is making excuses for people. And it happens a lot at this time of the year. And some of you are going to get probably a little bit, but I don't know, just, you know, going to feel a little stressed about this. But let me just give you some examples of this. A double standard comes into play, which is somebody doesn't bother to acknowledge you at Christmas for whatever reason, and then somebody else will justify why they haven't. Let me try and do that even better. My mom, I've got to give this example because she was brilliant at it. My mother was an expert at this trick. And Big Brother Jeffrey, as some of you know him as, was really good at not remembering my birthday, for example, or anything else for that matter that had to do with regular everyday stuff, right? And his excuse always was that he doesn't, you know, do a big deal about his birthday, so he doesn't think that it should be a big deal about anybody else's. Well, you know, it is a big deal for some of us. So anyway, what happened was, for years I would hear the comment, oh, but you know, he is really busy. And I'd go, what? Well, you know, he's a really busy businessman, and, whoa, I want to say there's a lot of water around. and we've got way more water coming. This is a little bit, I don't think I've ever seen the water that high on the certain, what do you call it? It's a Ducks Unlimited thing. I don't think I've ever seen the water that high, and I know we've got torrential rain coming for a couple of days. Wow, that river is nearly overflowing. Oh, that could be challenging. Anyway, so there was always this excuse, he's really busy. And I would say, well, so am I. What's your point? What's your point? And the point was that apparently it was okay for a guy to forget a birthday. Because he's a guy. Basically, is what it boiled down to. In my mother's eyes, it was a woman's job to remember birthdays. And I used to go, really? I mean, how sexist is that? And so I didn't buy that at all. And as some of you know, I actually ended up writing one heck of a note to my brother after years and years of putting up with us and saying, you know, you got a daytimer, put my birthday in. Please remember my birthday. And if you don't, it'll mean that you haven't treated it with enough importance, and I'd like you to treat it with some importance. It was really cute. Anyway, so so this happens around about Christmas time as well, I think. Because we have lots of excuses. And that some of us are meant to, you know, go out, do all the shopping, do all the decorations, you know, do most of this, that and the other, while somebody else doesn't have to do nearly as much. Why is that? Why is that? Why don't we share? And you know, you got to bake and cook and do the decorations and do this and do that and do the other, right? And it takes hours, as well as look after children for some of you. It's like, wow. So I would ask you to think about, if you haven't got your stuff done yet, get help. Yeah, invite somebody over for a cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is, and just say, I need a bit of help here. You know, somebody who you know is already completely ready, you know, one of those people. Because what they can get accomplished in an hour or two, you know, you'd be amazed. It's like instant. And so asking for help, as I often say, you know, is a sign of strength. So do that. I managed last night to sort of go, okay, fine, my goals were to, funny enough, get the wash done, because I hadn't done it the weekend, but get the wash done and to get the Christmas cards going. I know that's late, but better late than never, in my view. So I'm going to get a couple of Christmas cards out. And try not to come up with my own excuses, because, you know, again, if you turn it around and go, okay, what excuses am I giving, when really it's just I'm not putting Christmas as a priority. And every day I need to put a little bit of time into Christmas, because otherwise I will not enjoy it. And I want that. I'm happy the tree is up, because I don't know why. That, to me, if I don't do anything else, as long as I got the tree up, I feel a lot better. Now, I hit a little bit of a challenge. And this is a sentimental one, and I can never remember who it was that made this brilliant suggestion, and whoever you are, own it again, please. That when I lost when Bean died at the beginning of June, I said one of the most difficult things for me was to come home and not see his face in my window next to my door. I've got one of those long windows, and he was always looking through the window. I'd literally drive in, and you could see the eyes and the two ears and the tail. And it was so devastating each day to come home and there was nothing in that window. And somebody wrote to me a brilliant suggestion, and I've passed it on to so many people since then, which was get a really nice plant and put it in that window. And so I have done. I've kept orchids in that window ever since. And I am forever thankful because they look so beautiful just there. Really? Sorry, a guy just came screaming through a red light and I'm stuck in the middle of the road. I can't move because, thank goodness, I had a sense that he was going to do that. Anyway, so the difficulty came because one of the decorations that I have is a Christmas tree that I always put in that window, a sort of stylized Christmas tree that always goes in that window. And I must admit, I was not able to remove the orchid. So I left the orchids. I've actually left the orchid there and just put some cotton wool around it. Snow, because I just couldn't move the orchid. And so that begs the question. I know that a lot of you have been asking me, did I get the other doggy? No, I assure you, when I get a doggy, you're all going to know about it because you're going to see lots of pictures, obviously. But I'm still getting, I think the only thing I can think of is I'm now getting judged on my age. And that is really so sad. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe it's a reality that I need to wake up to, that I just don't think that I'm too old to have a dog. I mean, that is BS if ever I heard it. But obviously they think I'm too old to have my definition of a dog, which is a German Shepherd type dog. Big dog. Any minute now. I think somebody suggested I might want to write an article about this. And because they spend so much time saying they want people to adopt animals, but then when you want to adopt them, you can't. Something wrong with that. Something very wrong, I think. But we will see. Now, there's part of me that goes, maybe God doesn't want me to have a dog. Which is why I'm hitting all these roadblocks, right? So those of you with strong belief, you can help me here. Is that just a cop-out? Or is it, how do you know when it's a cop-out or whether it's a reality? I'll be interested to hear the believers tell me that one. Where do you say, okay, fine, it is God's will, or where do you say, I need to do more to get myself a dog? But goodness only knows what more is. I think I've applied for 5 now. And you know, there's part of me that would go, I wouldn't mind if they had the sphericals, if you know what I mean, the stones, to actually tell me that they're not going to give it to me. Of course, and I'd really like them to tell me why. They're not going to, for fear I will, you know, take them to court or something. So, alright, that's just not a good way to start my day. Feeling sorry for myself is not a good way to start my day. So I'm going to change that. Right, so windy, very windy, but very grateful for the fact that so far not too many trees seem to have fallen over, or if they haven't fallen over on my way to work. May they continue not to do so for the time of this storm that's going to rage for a couple of days, they tell me. And as I said earlier, that we're expecting a lot of rain. So those rivers of mine that are absolutely as high as I've ever seen them really could be flooding any minute now. Could be cresting over their banks, and if they do, I'm pretty sure there must be some flooding going on higher up the river. So I'll keep an eye on that. But it really is. I've never seen the river that high in all the time I've lived where I've lived. In fact, there are 2 different water areas that I pass on my way to work. So we'll hopefully keep that under control. But if the major part of the storm hasn't hit yet, because I think they said it was going to be 48 hours of torrential rain. Well, it's not torrentially raining right now, but it is raining. But we had tremendous gusts last night. At one point, I nearly, picked up my camera and let you hear it because the gusts were so strong. It was like, wow. So we'll hope. All right, so everybody have a wonderful day, night, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are listening.